Hey guys, and welcome to my top 10 things that could just improve Rogue Legacy. Now, I am a huge fan of Rogue Legacy. I have played it on my channel, I've watched other people play it, and I believe that it is one of the top games of 2013. There's just a few things that if are tweaked or implemented that could just blow this game out of the water completely. And this is my list. This is just my opinion. Alright, I know I'm being a little bit nitpicky on this one, but for number 10, I feel that in the game you should edit and change the color of the enemy's damage and the player's damage. This one is a really simple one that they can easily fix, and sometimes I just feel like I get really confused on like who's hitting who, because my damage is red and the enemy's damage is red. So when you're getting in close combat with the enemies and they're hitting you and you're hitting them, you don't know who's doing who, with the hits. And it's just like if both of them are red, you're not sure who's really taking the damage. There's been a handful of times where I'm playing and I'm really close to an enemy and I hit them for maybe 100 something damage, and I thinking that maybe I'm the one that got hit with that because I'm just so close and I saw a red number and I'm just like, oh my god, but in reality I'm the one that hit them. So maybe I could suggest that maybe keeping the enemy's damage as red and maybe turning the player's damage to maybe a yellow color, just to signify yeah, that's the damage you did and the enemy's damage is red. Alright, for number 9, I feel that the fairy chest challenges should be more of a challenge, There's been a handful of times where there'll be just a fairy chest room and it'll be just destroy all the enemies, and it'll require a spell that you just don't have, so you're just shit out of luck. Now, the ones that generally are a challenge, sometimes they require skill, but a good majority of them are just if you don't got this, then too bad, you're just shit out of luck, and it really sucks. Defeat all the enemies in the room that you can't use a spell, having dwarfism when you don't have it, and it just really sucks because, it's just so situational. You're just waiting to get that fairy chest challenge that you can actually do. Maybe just take out those ones that require you to have a spell for a certain character, and maybe put in more that require you to use more skill based, like jump this without taking damage, or defeat all the enemies in the room. I feel like that would definitely improve the gameplay when it comes to fairy chests and getting runes. Alright, number 8 is adding more traits to the game that vary the gameplay. There's just been a handful of traits that are just either comical or just not useful at all. And after playing 100 different characters, I get that eventually you're gonna run into the same traits, but there's been a handful of times where it's just oh, OCD again, or oh, PAD again. And then some traits are just straight up annoying, like vertigo and stuff, and it's just this isn't a helpful trait. So I feel if they really put their minds to it, they could add more traits to the game to just make it more varied instead of just adding the trait gay.
Ha! Gay!
Alright, number 7 is more build up to the final boss. Alright, spoilers here for those of you who haven't played the game. But when you walk inside the castle, every time you start a new reset castle, there's a door. You start in the same room and there's a door there. Once you defeat all 4 bosses of the icons on the door will open and you can walk right inside and fight the final boss. This entire game I've been playing, I go to these different realms and I fight these different bosses, and now the final boss, all I have to do is just walk into the castle and walk right inside and be like, hey, final boss, let's fight, I definitely feel like there should have been more build up to the final boss, and the final boss actually having its own realm. The final boss could have had a shadow realm or something like that. The first form of the final boss, where spoiler alert once again, where you're fighting Johannes, that Shadow Knight, that could have been an actual enemy in the realm, and you could have actually walked into this realm and eventually build up to the final boss, because just walking right inside and just challenging the final boss, it's just so easy to do. After all this time, after all this walking down the castle, and just all I have to do is just walk into the door. There you go, done, beat the boss. Alright, I'm done with the nitpicky ones. Time to get into the really serious ones that, if were implemented in the game, would just, boost the game through immense proportions. Alright, so number 6 is armor color customization. Alright, you get different armors in the game, sure, but they're all colored differently, and sometimes you just gotta use different armors, and you look like a mess sometimes. You're like, oh, well, the orange helmet is good, but then the blue armor is good, then the purple shoes and bracers are good, and the cape, the green cape, is the best stats, and it's just like, now I look like a mess. I mean, it's cool to have the different stats and different qualities of different capes, but it'd just be awesome to have like a character, you can pay some gold to just change the color of your armor, even if it's at random, you can like randomly color a piece of armor, and you can keep paying gold to like randomly randomize the color until you get the color you want. But just sometimes you just look like a mess despite you being efficient. Sometimes it just looks disgusting, and just having the opportunity to wear the colors that you actually want to wear and make your character look cool, make it more personalized, would just be so awesome. Alright, number 5 is definitely something that, if utilized, would just make the game a little bit more just interesting with some characters. Adding in some more spells. There's only a handful of spells. I believe there's like maybe 8 to 10 spells that are in the game. And that's not much. None of them are actually like so good that you just want to use them all the time. And since you really don't want to use spells, that makes characters like the Archmage and stuff and the Spell Sword kind of mediocre characters that people kind of shoved to the back. And I've been watching a lot of Let's Plays and my plays myself. It's just kind of like, spells? What are spells? I got this sword, I do a lot of damage with it. Every time I do a spell, it does really weak damage. It's not even worth my time. And if they added more spells and more variety of spells, it would just make the game more interesting. Be like, oh, this spell is really good, and for goodness sakes, out of all the spells you forget to add in a healing spell. If you had a healing spell, then spells would be awesome. Like, oh yeah, I'm hurt. Oh, I use some of my MP to heal some of my HP, and then you heal your MP. That makes like traits like OCD would be like so good. And you're just missing some spells that could just be obviously utilized. All those mages that you fight in the game, how come you can't use their spells? It would be so easy to just be like, oh, ice spell, and shoot the ice like the ice mages, or earth spell, or fire spell. I mean, you got the fire circle thing, but like actually shoot the fireballs and stuff. So you got it there. You just gotta pretty much just copy and paste it onto the character instead of just giving it straight to the enemy. Allow us to put elements on our sword. That would be so cool. Like, you have already a person that does ruins, allow a person to put like enchantments and allow you to enchant like various elements on your sword. You could have like a fire sword that when you hit, it does damage over time, or maybe like ice that freezes or slows down the enemy, or lightning that hits them with like a bolt of lightning for like like a critical hit or something. Like you're just missing some opportunities that you can just simply grab from like other RPGs and other just Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Element weapons. Yeah, I know some people are like saying that you should be able to use other weapons, but you know what? I'm perfectly fine just using the giant sword. I mean, that's perfectly fine. But if I could have like, oh, fire sword, ice sword, electric sword, and then you can even add in addition that different enemies are weak to different elements, or different bosses are weak to different elements. Like, oh, well, Kadir is weak to ice, so I gotta put ice on my sword so I can do extra damage against Kadir because he's weak against ice. Just take that opportunity, just put elements on your weapons. That would be so cool. Alright, number 3 and number 2 kind of go hand in hand with each other. Number 3 and / number 2 is adding an actual experience and level up system. I know you kind of sort of level up in the game, but you level up on what purchases you make in the manor. I don't understand how me purchasing the smith, or me purchasing the architect, or me purchasing the enchantress levels me up as a character. And it really doesn't really matter what level you are. It doesn't matter if you're level 10 or 20 or 50 or 130. If you have the skills to beat the game, you have the skills to beat the game, and it's kind of like you're not really utilizing this level up system. I feel like if you actually put experience and an actual level up in the game, that would make it much more fun. It makes more of a an RPG aspect. So no, not all enemies drop gold, but you can make it so each enemy you kill gives you some experience. You have an experience bar, you fill it up, you level up, and I'm not saying that you should take out the mana system. That's cool and all, but maybe like every level up you get can give you like 1 HP, 1 MP, just something to be like, hey, good job, you're doing a good job, pat you on the back, you're getting stronger, or such like that. Or maybe increase your damage by 1, And slash number 2 is adding a hit rate system to make the game more into it, and it's just like, oh, I'm super good at this game, I could just wax it in like one walkthrough. Make it so the players actually have to grind in the game. So adding a hit rate system, similar to like how MapleStory has it, where if you're not like, I think it's like 5 to 10 levels to the same level as the enemy fighting, you're gonna miss your hits. So they can implement that in this game. So you're leveling up. If your level is not close to the level that you're fighting, you would just be like kind of like just like missing your hits because you're not high enough level to be hitting this enemy. So that would definitely make the play more interesting, and just be like, I can't hit this enemy because I'm not high enough level. I need to go back and grind and level up and get more experience to get a high enough level to hit this enemy. You can also add in another trait in the manner where you can pay to put points into evasion, so you can avoid some of your enemies' hits. Like plus 5 or 10% evasion, 10% chance that you'll invade a hit, and enemies will just straight miss you because your evasion is up. And finally, the number one thing that can make Rogue Legacy just so much better: boss farming. God, there's been a handful of times that I've just been like, wow, I wish I could fight the boss again and just get more gold. I've been playing the game myself, I've been watching other Let's Players play the game, and we all agree on this. If you could farm the boss, it would just be so much enjoyable, because, there's really no point in going back to the places that you've been. You went to the castle, why can't I go fight Kidir again, and just get a little bit more gold for my trouble, If I'm risking myself to fight Kidir again, then I believe that I should get some gold. And I'm not saying that he should give as much gold as he got the first time, but maybe just, a few gold to just be like, hey, you can just keep on fighting him, get more gold. Because, part of Rogue Legacy, the aspect of it is kind of like a collection grind-a-thon, and what better to grind than on the bosses that you defeated, fight them again, and get more gold. And then sometimes you don't want to go back to some places because, you just don't get... You can't fight the boss again. It kind of sucks, Especially when this goes true for the Maya and the Land of Darkness, where a good majority of people, including myself, would be like, well, I could go to the Maya or the Land of Darkness, but the enemies are hard there, and what's the point? It's not like I gotta go fight the boss again. But if I could go fight the boss again, I might want to risk myself to, get some gold off of Ponce de Leon or Herodotus, because, you just kind of want that gold. So I definitely feel like being able to grind on these bosses and get the gold and just continue to fight them is a missed opportunity, and I feel like the game would have a lot more replayability if you would be able to just fight these bosses again, instead of having to wait all the way till New Game Plus to fight the bosses again. Alright guys, so that was my top 10 ways to make Rogue Legacy a better game. So tell me what you guys think can make Rogue Legacy better in the description. Tell me what you agree on, tell me what you disagree on, and I hope that you guys enjoyed. So thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I will see you guys next time.